Welcome to Unpolished Dialogues, a podcast where raw and real conversations take center stage.
Join us as we dive into thought-provoking discussions on a wide range of topics. No filters, no scripts, just honest and candid conversations.
So sit back, relax, and get ready for an unpolished ride. Here we go. I'm your host, Elizabeth Aras, and my co-host is...
Yours truly, Kevin Watson.
Hello.
Yo.
It is Sunday today, and I am a bit tired because of daylight savings. I woke up thinking that, I slept in, but that was not the case.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I looked at my Fitbit this morning, and I was like, oh, hold on, it's almost 9. Well, I went to bed at 12, so I'm supposed to be at like 8 hours, but then it's showing something like 6 hours, and I'm like, what? 6
What
hours and
happens?
something. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what's happening here? But then I remembered that
Daylight
the time
savings.
changed. Yeah, the time changed
Yeah.
about 2 a.m. this morning.
Oh, isn't it at like 3 a.m.?
Probably 2 a.m. my time. I don't
Yeah,
know, but
probably.
I just know that the time changed this morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of things are happening in March. So March is also, as of recently, considered to be Women's History Month. And I want to especially celebrate all the non-white women that have to push a bit harder than their peers and roar a bit louder from the back of the room. And I want to give a special shout out to the women of Iran that have been protesting for their rights for months now, and several have been killed, and I think their bravery should be recognized. So I just wanted to mention that here today.
Yeah, definitely. And by the way, Elizabeth, let me say that big up to all women. It doesn't matter your skin color or your ethnic background. I want to say to all women, thank you for your contribution to our world and this society. Without you, there would be no human race. Literally. Women are the cornerstone of our society. So I want to take the time out to say big up on yourself.
What?
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin. And before we dive into today's topics, I also wanted to mention this case I read about because I know you're so passionate about ethics and law, Kevin. So I wanted to hear your take on this. I don't know if you've heard about this. We haven't discussed this. So a few weeks ago here in Milton, Ontario, an intruder was shot during a robbery. And one of the occupants in the house fired shots at the intruders. There were several intruders. And this occupant was later charged with second-degree murder. So apparently, under Section 35 of the Criminal Code, Canadians are allowed to defend their property, whether it's being damaged, stolen, or unlawfully entered, through quote unquote reasonable actions. Meaning it would be up to the court to determine whether or not the defendant used reasonable force in defending themselves. What is your take on this?
Well, as an ex-cop, I can certainly say that it depends on the circumstances. I've always said it's easy for us on the outside looking in to say, oh, how could they have done that? Because what we're hearing is really what was reported to us on the media. But many times in those circumstances, it's a lot more complex. There are other elements at play. And so I can't say for certain that, this man was just defending his property. There are a number of different things that could be taking place. But for sure, the court is there, and the court plays a role in making sure that justice is administered by looking at the evidence. And you may be asking yourself, well, how is it that somebody can be arrested for murder if they were just defending their property?
They're defending.
Well, it depends. A few questions will be asked. Number one, did this intruder present a threat? Did this intruder put anyone in the household in imminent danger of losing their lives. And that
Mhm.
can be looked at in a number of different ways. Like, did the intruder have a weapon like a firearm? Or did the intruder have a knife? Did the intruder attack someone in the house? Where was this person
Mhm.
when they were shot? Were they running away? Right? Were they trying to
Mhm.
get away? Because if this person was shot in the back, obviously this person
Mhm.
was no more a threat and
Is
could
trying to escape, yeah.
right. So there are two elements that must be present in order for any crime to take place. Number one is, they call it the mens rea, this the state of the mind.
Mhm.
What was the intention of the individual who did this thing? Were they in
Mhm.
fear of their lives? A lot of different things could be going on in that person's mind.
Mhm.
Or it could certainly be that this person said, "Oh, I'm going to make sure I set an example out of you by making sure I kill
Mm.
you," right? And that in itself
Mhm.
is not justification, right? And then the actus
Mhm.
reus is the actual, action that was carried out. So the concept of actus reus is fairly straightforward. If someone commits a crime, then they are doing an illegal act. So essentially, when you combine actus reus and mens rea together, this is what the court used to establish whether a crime has been committed or not. It could very well be that this man should be charged with murder based on the circumstances, because I'm
Mm.
sure we don't have all the details, right? Does that
No,
make sense?
you're yeah, no, I think that makes perfectly
Yes.
good sense. Like my first thought when I read this was like,
Mm.
screw this.
Yeah.
Like if somebody is I mean attacking my property. I mean, again though, like I'm anti-guns, so I would never own a gun, but I might act in an irrational way in that circumstance. Like maybe I would reach for a knife or something, right? Because of what's going on. But would I actually use it? Well, it depends on, because you don't know how you're functioning in those kinds of circumstances. But I think you bring up a very interesting point of view, and I knew that it would get you a little bit fired up because you love
No,
talking
I,
law.
I, I guess my tenure in law enforcement has taught me so much about crimes, and sometimes
Mhm.
things are not always what they appear to be, or how they're
Mhm.
reported in the media,
Mhm.
right? And so, of course,
Yeah,
it's easy
no,
for us to
makes
say,
sense.
"Oh, how could they charge this man for murder when he was just defending his
Mhm.
property?" It could be just more than that. Another thing that would be taken into consideration: does this person knows the intruder? Is he
Mhm.
familiar with the intruder? Is
Mhm.
it that they have long-standing conflict? And then this man
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, this person tried to break into my house." So a lot of things may be happening in the background that we don't know about,
Mhm.
and the police don't always tell us everything.
Yeah. No,
Especially when they have
that's very
investigations going
true.
on, because they just don't want to compromise the case. But that's just my take.
No,
So let's see. We just have
no,
to
that
watch and
makes
see.
total sense.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. No, thank you for indulging us. But yeah, we're not going to be talking about that either today. So we've been recording for a month now, Kevin. And the topic of what men versus women want have popped up a few times. We've mentioned things like looks and financial stability, but I think it's time for us to dive a little deeper and ask each other some questions we know the opposite sex is curious about. Um, Obviously, we cannot in our responses represent everybody, but we will do our best to base our responses on our own perspectives, as well as like conversations we've had with friends and family of the same sex. So do you want to start?
No, I just want to say that I can probably speak to some general ideas, but there are
Hmm.
always exceptions to the rule.
Absolutely.
There are always persons who are different, but certainly, I think that there are differences between men and women, and biology has proven that. Physically,
Hmm.
men are stronger than women, and that's a biological fact, right? because we tend to have more muscle mass and bone density than women, and because we have this hormone called testosterone presented in higher levels in our body, in our bodies, right? It contributes to,
And male bodies,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, in male bodies.
Mhm.
When I say our bodies, I'm talking about male bodies, right? So it's usually present in high levels, and this is what helps us to develop greater muscle mass, right?
Mhm.
But it is important to note that strength is not only about your physical ability. And I can certainly say that women are stronger in so many other ways, right?
Oh, yes,
Mhm.
I think we, excel in mind fucking.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Uh, you know what? Perhaps you're right.
And
Which
I
is why
mean,
we are also different psychologically. So we're not only
absolutely,
different
yeah.
biologically and physiologically, but we're different psychologically, because women are good at what? What is that word you just used?
Mind fucking.
Oh my God, Elizabeth. Hmm. Right.
And no, and then I mean, the same goes for me. I think in many ways, my point of view can be a little bit different from, I would say, a majority of women, because of the fact that I grew up around a lot of men. So I think I was influenced by the opposite sex in various ways. But I would say that I've had enough female interactions to represent a great mass of women.
Yeah, which is why I also believe that gender is complex and multifaceted in its
Mhm.
construct, right?
Mhm.
Because, as
Mhm.
you mentioned, because you grew up around boys, right? You wanted to be one
Mhm.
of the boys, and so factors
Mhm.
such as culture and the way you
Yeah.
socialize can impact
Yeah.
how you respond as a woman in our society,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
I think we tend to forget all of these other factors, and we just want to
Mhm.
put women in a category where we say, "Oh, you think like a woman," but there are women who think like men too,
Oh, yes.
right?
And there are many circumstances that, people have told me that I have big balls.
Oh, exactly.
Metaphorically.
I have literally come across women who have more egos than men. I had this idea when I was growing up that men had the most egotistical
Mm.
attitudes and behaviors.
Mhm.
But I've actually come
Mhm.
across so many women who have these same egos.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So, who
Yeah.
wants to ask the first question? I think we can. We'll see how this will play out, but either we'll take turns, or it'll turn into a debate of such.
Hmm.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first, Kevin?
Well, I mean, I can ask a very basic question.
Okay, let's hear
All
it.
right. In your experience, what are
Hmm.
some of the biggest misconceptions about what men and women want in a relationship?
Was that a basic question, Kevin?
It's not.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like my first question was similar to that. So, because I was gonna ask you, what expectations do men have of women? But if I can just make certain, like, general examples, I think the first thing that pops up in my mind is that a lot of women will want a man that can show that he can provide financially, and you can see examples of that in discussions around who pays for the first date or who pays for all dates, and buys more expensive gifts, puts the down payment for a house, and so forth. I think that is the main expectation women have of men. But then there's also the absolute opposite. There are a lot of women that are, like, prefer to split the bill because they don't want an expectation of them on that first date, because there's also this point of view, like, if he's going to if he's going to pay the bill, then he's going to expect something in return. And a lot of women want to avoid that by splitting the bill or paying for
So that's
themselves.
the only reason. It's not
Um,
because a woman may feel like, oh, I'm independent. It's all about equality. So
I mean, there's
I'm
those
going to pay
women
my own
too.
bill.
There's those women too. Absolutely. But like, honestly speaking, I'm just talking like, it doesn't matter if there's a man involved or
Yeah,
something, but if somebody pays my bill, I'm not going to stop them.
right.
Like, but yeah, absolutely. There's that factor as well. I think that's the main one for men.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to ask you, instead of me responding to this,
Mm-hmm.
what is the main expectation men have of women? What is the equivalent?
Well, as I pointed out earlier, that it is not accurate to generalize the expectations that all men have of women. Like any other group, different men will have a wide range of beliefs, values, and expectations that shape their individual experiences. However, in general, I would say a lot of men, especially men like myself who come from traditional homes, expect women to conform to traditional gender roles and be responsible for domestic tasks and caregiving, like the nurturing of the children and so on, right? I think a lot of men expect women to be respectful and kind. Respect cannot be overemphasized in a relationship, I believe, but men require respect on a different level. There may be expectations for women to prioritize their appearance and conform to a certain beauty standard. We spoke about in a previous podcast that men are physical creatures, like they are attracted to beauty on the outside, while women are more emotional, right? And while especially in current society, this can be harmful and limiting for women, I would say that is typically what is expected, right? I don't think that it's necessarily that men expect that a woman will be willing to or is ready to say, all right, you pay for this for me, or you're spending this money, so it means that I need to give you something in return. But I think that the very fact that a woman accepts a man paying for a meal, in his mind he's like, okay, it means that it's possible that this relationship can progress. I'm just saying
Mm,
that's the thought behind it. Do you have some men who pay for meals and expect to get something in return?
hmm.
Of course. A lot of men don't spend that money because
It's an
they feel
investment,
so
right?
kind. Yes, it's an investment and they're probably looking for some return. And let me just say that not every man thinks like this. There are some men who
Hmm.
will just pay for a meal and tell themselves that, oh, it's just one meal, it's fine. I'm just trying to get to know this
Hmm.
person. But I remember
Hmm.
my barber was saying to me, "Oh, I went out on a date last night and I spent $100, and as soon as the date was over and I felt like it was going well, as soon as I dropped her off and I got home, I got a text from her to say that this is not working out." And yeah, and he said that he was really feeling this because he's like, this woman have me spend over $100 on our dinner and then tell me
Yeah.
that this is not going to work. And I think a lot of men believe that women use them in that way. Let me
A
let
lot,
me I'll
and
allow this man to wine and dine me. I'll get all
yeah,
that I can, and then I out of him for
yeah.
this night, and I'll go on a date with somebody else tomorrow.
And you know what? Like, I'm gonna tell you right now, there are women that do that. I saw something about this woman. She rarely pays for her own food, like in a week, because she goes from one day to the other with different kinds of men just to be able to eat. So that's how she she feeds herself.
Absolutely.
She feeds herself by going on dates.
Yeah.
And I mean, so it's funny that you said that The expectation is that the woman is respectful and kind in return. Because a lot of women, and you would have to correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of women think that, okay, I'm not going to pay for anything because I'm going to be investing in what, like, my look. Like, I'm going to spend money on my nails, I'm going to spend money on my hair, I'm going to be spending money on an outfit, I'm going to be like, like making sure I look good for this date. And that is my investment towards this date with this man. So you're telling me that none of that matters?
Well, no, I'm not saying that it does not matter, right? Because research has shown that men are more, while women connect on an emotional level, men are all about the
Mhm.
physical, right? So they
Mhm.
place more importance on how a woman look, right? Than how
Mhm.
a woman would place importance on how a man look, right? I mean, there are always exceptions to the rules, as I said before. But of
Mhm.
course, women feel like they need to do this. This is how they please the man. This is how they entice the man by putting themselves together in a particular way that they feel
Mhm.
the man would appreciate, right? And they feel that this
Mhm.
is all they need. But in my view, for a highly evolved man like myself, that alone would not cut it. I'm not saying that I don't appreciate a woman who puts herself together good, but she has to bring a lot more, significantly more to the table to entice me,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Beauty and
um
brains.
Beauty, brains, intelligence, um yeah, everything. I know when I say brains it covers intelligence and everything, but I want to place emphasis on intelligence.
You didn't make a good point there on the whole
Yeah.
idea of intelligence. It's okay, Kevin.
I
It's
was,
okay. I understand
yeah.
what you meant.
But yeah, you're right. Beauty and brains, right? And have something to
Mhm.
contribute. I think that for some men who really don't place a lot of value on women, that is all
Mhm.
they'll be looking for. Because, for
Yeah.
example, if you take a high value man who has his shit together and he has lots of assets, he's wealthy,
Yeah.
he's probably
Having your shit
looking
together is a
for
bare
a
minimum.
no, but quite frankly, he's probably looking for a woman who does not say much. He just
Mm.
wants a woman who looks beautiful, who can satisfy him
Mhm.
and please his eyes, like a eye candy kind of a woman. And there are a lot of women like those out there who believe that
Yeah.
is all they need to offer. But a man like this probably would not appreciate a strong woman,
Because
quite
time is
frankly.
money. He doesn't have
Exactly.
time for
And
that.
yeah.
He doesn't
Yeah.
wanna be
So,
challenged intellectually.
right, right. And so, because of that, you'll find that so many women, especially when they're a certain age, just get this whole thing a little bit confused because they believe that all I
Mhm.
need to do is look hot and sexy. I need to put myself
Yeah.
out there looking like this to the point where they are viewed as sex objects, really. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that
The
I'm
unfortunate
saying
thing
that should
about
be the
it,
case, but that is what it
yeah.
is.
Yeah. I think, generally speaking, yes, I agree. There are a lot of women like that. And I think it's important that, like, lady, if you're in that situation, beauty fades, invest his money in your education. Like, if
How
you're gonna
about
do
this?
something with his money, yeah.
How about this? Listen,
Uh-huh.
I would say work hard, invest in your own education, be independent,
Mhm.
and find a man who appreciates that independence and appreciate you for the beauty and brains that you have to offer. Then and there you'll find a genuine connection, right? Because
Mhm.
remember, whenever you have to depend on a man, guess what? He feels like he owns you, right?
Mhm.
And that's just the fact. That's just how it is. He feels like he owns you. He feels like he can dictate to you. And I'm saying this from a man's perspective because this is
Yeah.
what I've seen. This is what I've heard men around me express.
Mhm.
If they invest in you, right? They
Mhm.
expect some
Something
return,
in
and
return, yeah.
they expect some,
Yeah.
and they believe that, listen, yeah, I own you.
Mhm.
And I know some people are going to be saying, "Oh, well, no, that shouldn't be the case." But well, guess what? If you don't want that to be the case, then be independent. Work for what you
Yeah.
want. Work as hard as the man has worked for what he wants. What we see is similar to what you've said, that women just don't believe that they need to work for what they want. They believe that they should be able to depend on a man for everything that they need, right? Which is where they make the
No,
mistake sometimes.
yeah, like obviously, like we've established, not everyone. I think a lot of women get their own more so today than back in the days. But yes, there's obviously still that example out there. But yeah, let's dig a little bit deeper. You've said parts of this, but let me see if this is the. what you- Let me see what you're going to respond to this. What female actions are difficult for men to tolerate?
I think you know the answer to this. Any action,
And
any
uh-huh.
action that denotes disrespect, right?
Mhm.
I think that this is something that is obvious right across the board, but I think men
Mhm.
just require respect on a different level.
K
I think for men,
Mhm.
respect equal love. Now it could be the same case for women. I'm talking from a man's
Mhm.
perspective. You can always agree that women,
Mhm.
are the same, right? But I know, for a man, love and respect are synonymous,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And respect comes from admiration. A man wants to feel important. He wants to feel
Mhm.
like he's looked up to, like he's
Yeah.
admired.
What about, okay, so this is funny, but
Hmm.
I because I've lived alone for a number of years.
Hmm.
I'm used to doing certain things on my own. So like opening up my jar, my first thought is not to ask somebody to do it. I mean, in a scenario where there's a man in my household, right? My first instinct is not to ask for help. My first instinct is to do it myself, especially if something doesn't weigh a lot, like something isn't heavy. So even if I'm fully capable of opening up my own jar, should I, as a woman, still ask a man to open it up for me?
I mean, would it hurt? At the same time, I don't. I kind of think differently. If you can do it yourself, do it. I mean, I don't see any problem with you doing it yourself. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I think we all make compromises in relationships. If we know that something will make our
Mhm.
partner feel good, then we
Yeah.
try to accommodate that, right? So if you have a man that likes
Mhm.
to be the man, and he wants to believe that
Open up
he's
all the
stronger,
jars.
and he can be there for you, because some men just want to be there for you, right? They want to
Yeah. Yeah.
open that jar that you can't open. They want to open the door
But I
for you.
can
They
open
want
it.
to, huh?
But I can open it.
Yeah. Well, even so, and it may, because sometimes at jar, it doesn't take only strength; it takes strategy, right? So you may have the strategy. Um,
I do. I do.
right,
I have a strategy.
right. But there are some women who also don't mind a man doing those kinds of
I
things,
don't
and
mind it.
yeah, and
I
I think.
absolutely don't mind it. It's
Mhm.
just the first instinct is not to ask for help if there's something that I'm just used to doing, like as a person that is just in the kitchen so much. I'm just used to doing it myself without like, "Oh, by the way, can you like open this for me?"
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, it's more that it's not my first instinct to ask for help when it comes to that thing, but when it
Hmm.
comes to like certain things like changing the tires from winter to summer, not having to even bother with that is definitely, I think, a relief for a lot of women.
But is it
Just
that?
like to a certain extent.
But is it that because you feel like, oh, that's too much work, or you just can't
It's
do
just
it?
I don't want to be bothered. Like I don't want to be bothered with things like
I'd
that
love
that
to
has
see
to
you
do with the
change
car.
Natara though, Elizabeth.
Listen, I have not changed tires. I go to a place, but I've carried them at some point where my brothers and my fathers were unavailable, and that made me very sad.
Well, as an independent woman, as someone who can do these things yourself, you shouldn't be depending on your father and your brothers to do it. Come on.
You said it yourself. Men are stronger physically, so why should I? No, never mind. Anyways, what's your
Don't you
next?
believe
Yeah.
though? Don't you believe that
Mhm.
women can be quite selective with how they view certain things? So,
Well,
as long as it suits them, well, I'm an independent, strong woman.
it's not that
But
I
when it
can't
does
do
not,
those things
then
though.
huh?
But this is the thing. My theory is
Yeah.
I prefer like doing what you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
Anything related to the kitchen, like cooking, cleaning, doing the dishes, like putting everything in order, I don't mind doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could spend my whole day in a kitchen, I don't care. But there are certain things that I feel like a man might be better at,
Yes.
and I would prefer it if he does what he's good at so that I can focus on doing what I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
It's same thing with like grocery shopping. I love doing my grocery shopping. I
Mm-hmm.
prefer to do it myself because then I know that I'll get exactly what I needed, you know? And so it depends. And I'm the same at work too. I think we should all do what we're good at. And if we have to do something that we're not great at, then I mean, fine, I'll do it, but I'll probably pay somebody to do the full job. Just
What you
saying.
want to hear my view?
Yes,
My
let's hear
view
it.
is that
This is
if
the
we're
whole.
going to achieve equality,
Mhm.
I think a woman should be able to do all the things that a man do. So I
And vice versa.
don't yes, I don't have a problem with doing the dishes or cooking or doing laundry or cleaning the house. And you shouldn't have a problem going outside and shoveling the snow, right? Or changing your tires. You changing your snow tires, right? You shouldn't have
It's
an issue with
I
all those things that require a little bit more strength.
I
What do
mean,
you say
again,
about that?
it's not a matter of not being able to though,
Yeah.
but why would I do it? If I say like, "Honey, I'll do the cooking 100%." And he has to change the tires twice per year? That's a big issue? No.
No, I know I'm not saying that it's an issue. I'm saying that, in a balanced world, in an ideal world, that would certainly be acceptable or what we would want if we're looking for equality, right? It's
But you but
uh
but but you believe in equity, right?
equity. I like how you asked that question.
'Cause we've had this conversation before. You believe in
Yeah,
equity, so it's
no,
not
I
necessarily that both
listen.
of us have to do the same thing.
I'm just basing it off what I'm seeing in the world today. Nobody believes in equity
Mhm,
anymore. I don't think so. Like
mhm,
women these days, especially the feminists, don't seem to take equity into consideration. They don't seem to take into consideration the fact that men and women are biologically different and there's nothing that you can do about that, right? And because we're
mhm,
biologically different, then it impacts us psychologically and physically and physiologically, right? It impacts,
mhm,
our hormones and all these other things that can contribute to our characteristics, right? I don't think that
mhm.
the feminist is really thinking about all of these things, and so we're not thinking about like the way I see men and women know, right? Is that we're saying, okay, it's not about embracing our diversity anymore. It's about we are no different. We should be equal in every way, which I think is a wrong way of looking at things, right? Because you know we all have our unique attributes that may make us stronger at certain things. I think women
Mm-hmm.
are certainly emotionally stronger, even though they're not physically stronger. So you'll find more
Mm-hmm.
men crumbling under stress, more men committing suicide under stress. Women are able to endure high levels of stress. Think about child's birth. Think about what a
Mm-hmm.
woman is able to endure. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Men
And
are not designed to endure these levels of stress, and this is scientific. This is not
mm-hmm.
speculation. This is something that
Mm-hmm.
has been scientifically proven, right? But for some reason, so many people want to disregard all of these other things that we have no control over, right?
I do think that
Mm-hmm.
there is a group of feminists that might think that way. I define myself as a feminist in the sense that I believe in access to. So there are a group of women that will want to have access to the same avenues as men, and I think they should be able to have access to those areas.
Mm-hmm.
However, do all women want the same things? No, absolutely not. Like I said before, my theory is let's all do what we're good at, right? I feel like I'm brilliant in this and this and this, whether that be in the household or it be at work.
Yeah.
Then I should be able to shine where I shine,
Yeah.
right? So for me, but for the woman that wants to do a quote unquote man's job, let
Mm-hmm.
her do it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Let her do it.
No, I understand. And just some
Mhm.
information here, guys. I just want to put some things out there since we were talking about what women want versus what men want. Let us look at
Mhm.
the what research has shown, right? So career
Mhm.
goals. When it comes to career goals, research has shown that men tend to focus more on their career advancement and earning potential, while on the other hand, women tend to focus on job satisfaction, work life balance, and personal fulfillment. So it's not that women don't want to advance in their careers, but they tend to prioritize other factors as well. So in my
Mhm.
view, it seems that women are a little bit more balanced than men when it comes on to their career goals. But do you agree with this though? Do you
Again, to a
agree in
certain
terms of
extent.
career goals? Yeah.
I think to a certain extent,
Mm-hmm.
I think that is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
I rather make less and be happy. I mean, that's my current state. I want to make more money though. I want to make
Right.
more money, but
Yeah.
I want to balance between like being happy in life and like having a balanced work life.
Yes.
Uh and also like make okay
Mm-hmm.
an okay salary. I think, but I mean, again, there are a lot of women out there that need to make those type of sacrifices because they want to make partner at a law firm, or they don't want to be seen as less, so they sacrifice certain things in order to not be viewed as a person that's incapable of achieving
Yeah.
those
But
heights.
remember, we said that there are always exceptions to the
Absolutely.
rule. But what
Yeah.
they're saying generally,
Yes.
women tend to focus on these things more. So
Hmm.
it's not because they don't want advancement in their careers or anything, but they
Hmm.
place more
It's not a
focus on
priority.
job satisfaction, work life balance,
Yeah.
and personal fulfillment. While men,
Hmm.
they're like, listen, I don't know, I don't care what this job is. I just want to be making good money so I can take care of my
Yeah.
family and there's potential to
Yeah.
advance. So I'll deal with this shit until,
Mhm.
I'm at the level
Mhm.
where I'm earning, you know, to take care of my family and
Mhm.
to be desirable to my partner, because let's face the
Mhm.
fact, men are more desirable when they have greater potential of taking care of their family, right? You said it. So
Mhm.
women want security, right? Stability, and
Mhm.
that comes through.
Can he
Yeah,
provide?
can he
Yeah.
provide,
So
right?
yeah, yeah.
Another quick thing here, relationship
Yeah.
wise, when it comes to relationships, both men and women desire love, affection, and companionship. However, studies have shown that men tend to prioritize physical attractiveness in their partners, while women tend to place more importance on emotional connection and communication. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not that I let me put it this way. I do want to see certain attributes
Mm-hmm.
physically, right? There are certain things that I'm more attractive to than others.
Mm-hmm.
Some are more important than others. While you can make exceptions if you really like a person, right? So I won't immediately see your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So I will have to like find something about like the physical appearance to be even able to even think about you that way. So like a smile or like nice eyes or height or things
But
like
come
that.
on,
But that
Elizabeth.
will not be. Uh-huh.
Elizabeth, you
Uh-huh.
you just said that you place a lot of importance on someone who is able to create
A
security,
secure household.
secure,
Uh-huh.
yes, a provider.
Uh-huh.
And you're saying to me that you prefer somebody who is more physically attractive than somebody who can provide
That's not
for
what I
you.
said.
I know,
That's not that's not what I said.
I,
That's not
I
what I
can
said.
interpret it that way though, because
Yeah,
yeah.
but like I think a man as well as a woman want to feel attractive, like and attracted to. So I do think that there needs to be some attraction there. I don't think you can just fall in love with somebody without there being some physical attraction.
Mm.
But I mean, I
What if the man
admittedly,
says, well, I don't think I can fall in love with you because you must be able to provide some sort of security for me too. You must have some earning power there too. So if I'm going to bring
well,
attractiveness to the table, then you must be able to bring that thing that you look for also in me. I must be able to see that in you.
to a certain extent, though. I'm not expecting to roll my fingers and not work at all, and I'm not expecting him to look like a Ken doll, right?
Yeah.
So I think that there needs to be some attraction, and there needs to be as much, not as much, sorry, I take that back. There needs to be effort from both ends
Yeah.
when it comes to contributing to the family income, right? So I
Yeah.
I think both of those are attractive. But let
Mhm.
me let me let me ask you this.
Mhm.
How do men actually feel about successful women?
I can't speak for all men. I don't have an issue with a successful woman. As long as she knows that she contributes just as much as I do to the household. Be successful as much as you want to be successful. I'm never intimidated by successful women, but I can see men who value the fact that they're providers to be
That
intimidated
the
by
main
successful
provider.
women, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
if that's all the value they place on themselves, which is what a lot of men
Mm.
do these days, they place the value of being able
Mhm.
to be good providers, right? If they're
Mhm.
not good providers, they don't see themselves as being valuable. And of course, women contribute to this because
Yeah.
women talk about wanting a man who is a good provider. But when a man
Yeah.
grows up in a culture or community where he is seen as the breadwinner and the expectation is for him to provide for the woman or his family, and this woman is now making more than he is, then of course there's
Mhm.
going to be insecurity there, and a relationship like that hardly ever work. But for me, I don't know. I grew up with a strong mother. My mother was
Mm.
always out there. She had, listen, my mother have six of us, and she was still out there bringing in the dough. She was out there bringing in the money just the same. I guess my stepdad had to just deal with that. Of course, my mom
Yeah.
earning power was always greater than my stepdad, right? But somehow
Mhm.
they make it work. And I guess
Mhm.
because of that, I'm not intimidated by a woman who makes more than me or is successful. I want a woman who is successful and can, yeah,
Yeah.
of course, I don't have an issue with that. But just a quick
Yeah,
little
yeah.
story here. A man and a
Mhm.
woman were having a conversation about what they wanted in a romantic partner. The man said
Mhm.
he wanted a woman who was beautiful, smart, and independent. The woman replied, "Well, I want a man who is rich, handsome, and good in bed." The man
Mhm.
thought for a moment and then said, "Well, it looked like we're both looking for something that doesn't exist." So the humor exchange highlights the different priorities and expectations that men and women may have when it comes to
Yeah.
relationship. While it may be a bit of an exaggeration, it's important to recognize that both men and women may have unrealistic and conflicting expectations when it comes to finding a
Yes.
romantic partner. Ultimately, the most
Yes.
important thing is to find someone who values and respects you for who you are, regardless of gender
Mhm.
or other factors, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you this then.
hmm
Um, how can a woman make a man feel safe?
Um, I think supporting the man is very
Mm.
important. We talk about respect, and
Mhm.
I know I may be overemphasizing this. Respect is a two-way
Mhm.
street, but respect is a given. Support
Mhm.
is also important.
Can you elaborate on what kind of support you're referring to?
Well, I think support can come in a number of different ways. Emotional support, understanding when a man is having a bad day, right? To give him the kind of space he requires to process all his emotions, right? And if he's the kind of person who likes to talk about what his day was like, just sitting and listening to him. Like when I was younger, my mom used to sit with my stepdad when he comes in from work after she dished out his dinner. She would sit there and he would talk about work. And that is support. Another way is supporting the man's goals and dreams. This can certainly help him to feel encouraged. Like I've always said that I do not want a woman who does not support my dreams and my goals in life. Right. So support can come in a number of different ways. I think other ways that a woman can help a man to feel safe is really through honest and open communication, right, about their feelings and intentions. I know in a lot of cases, women will complain about men not being open about their feelings and so on, but that does not mean that men don't want you to be open about your feelings. So, of course, open and honest communication is important, I think. Showing appreciation. A man loves it when you show him appreciation. He feels safe, and he'll also feel respected. Right? So expressing gratitude for all the effort that the man has put out in the relationship is very important. Be consistent. Be consistent in your words and action. Provide I guess emotional support. And then there is also respecting boundaries, I think. Right? I think respecting your partner's boundaries and communicating your own boundaries can help to create a sense of safety in the relationship, not only for men but also for women. Some women will want to think that, oh, if he expects me to cook, right, or he expects me to do the laundry or the dishes, and that means he wants a maid or he wants me to pick up after him, you know. um the way I see it, every situation is different. There are different dynamics in a relationship. If two people enjoy
Yeah.
doing different things for each other, why not?
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily have to
Yes.
mean that they see each other as, oh, I'm not your maid. No, it has nothing to do with that. Because if you enjoy doing some things for your man, then why should it be a burden? Why should you look at that as, being a big issue, right? And
I think
uh
like for me, for instance, like those things, I don't mind doing those
hmm
naturally.
hmm
It's but it's something about being told to do something
Yes.
that like irks me, right? Like
Yeah, and
if your partner tells you to do something as opposed to asking you to do something,
mhm.
or not even saying it. Like
Yeah.
it's even better when they don't say it because it's like it's a natural thing. Like you just
Right.
see, like you know your partner so well. It's like
Yes.
he's not having a good day, so I'm not gonna bother him with this and this and that. I'm gonna
Mhm.
massage his feet, or I'm gonna just like, like we're just gonna have a quiet night and give
Yeah.
him that attention that he deserves, because a man doesn't constantly have to be like having this exterior where he constantly has to be strong.
Mhm.
And I think I think that's what you're where you're getting at. So like that's having like being able to just relax
Mhm.
with with your partner and just
Yeah.
like be vulnerable with your
Yeah.
partner. I think it's
Mhm.
important for a lot of men because they're not often able to show that side of them, and I think
Yeah.
it's important that they feel like they're able to do so in their own households.
Mhm.
So I think you bring up some good points here.
Yeah.
One thing I unless you have any questions for me, but I have a funny one here for you.
All right, go ahead.
Is it true that
Mhm.
men cannot really be friends with women?
I don't think that's 100% true. I've heard many people with the opinion that men and women cannot be friends, but we see
Mhm,
that happening every day.
mhm.
Don't you have males who are your good friends?
I do. I do.
Exactly.
Some heterosexual, some homosexual. It doesn't
Right.
really matter to
It
me. But
doesn't. I
but
mean,
is it
it's about boundaries. As it is with anything else, it's about setting boundaries. And I think once two people understand those boundaries, there shouldn't be a
but will the
problem.
man
Hmm.
but will the man, the heterosexual friend, always have in the back of his head that it's possible?
Well, this is two things here. If it is a
Mhm.
situation where this person is your good friend and you're both
Mhm.
single, right?
Mhm.
And you realize that the relationship is so good between you, between both of
Mhm.
you, and then there is that physical attraction and there's that genuine love, then it may be a good match. It may be that you guys need
Mhm.
to take it to the next level. A lot of relationships start like that,
Yeah.
right? but
Yeah.
but I think it's also important that if one person feel a particular way and the other person don't, then boundaries need to be set. So, for example,
Yeah.
if you know that your friend likes you a particular way, and especially if you're in a relationship and you see that it can compromise your relationship, then I would
Yeah.
say cut that off,
Mhm.
right? However, with that being said, if you have someone in your life who you consider to be a good friend, a man who you consider to be your good friend, and he respects
Mhm.
you and love you and
Mhm.
appreciates the friendship, right?
Mhm.
Then he will understand those boundaries. And if I say
Yeah.
if a man cannot understand those boundaries, then he is not your friend for good reasons. He's looking for
Yeah.
much more. So that person is
Yeah.
not actually your friend. That person is actually pursuing you, and you have to be able to
Mhm.
detect the difference, right?
Mhm.
Um, but I can certainly say that I've had very good female friends, right?
Mhm.
And I've had both ends of the spectrum too, like where you know you'll have a woman who she'll just be your good friend and that's it,
Yeah.
and you maintain that friendship, but then there are women who would sometimes want to take it to the next level, right?
Mm.
And the same vice versa, it happens. We are
Yeah.
who we are. Sometimes we can't help the attraction, but I,
Yeah.
I just believe that once boundaries are set, once two people care about each other, and on, I think it works. It works just as well as two females being friends.
Mhm.
You know, I
Mhm.
I think I think the problem comes in though when you know when you have a partner who really don't appreciate the friendship that you might share with the opposite sex. There's insecurity there, and for good reasons. Some persons, may have these insecurities, um, which is something you're going to have to weigh. No, well, what is more important? Having my partner
Yeah.
feel insecure, feel secure, and have trust in the relationship, or do I maintain this friendship with this person who all I ever see happening with this person is we're friends and that's it? I would say, there's a way you
I think it's a
probably, yeah,
difficult.
it's a difficult, yeah, it's it would be a difficult thing to balance. I think you would need to give your partner time to prove that this is nothing
Mhm.
more than a friendship,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
at the same time, I think it's important to respect your partner enough not to
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to pursue it if they have an issue with it.
Yeah. I have several questions for you, Kevin, but I'm looking at the time, and we've gone much longer than we normally even do.
Yeah, I know we have gone over the time. I think we have taken this, Elizabeth. I check looking back on the conversation. I
Mhm.
think we have explored a lot of things here, and there's still so much more
Mhm.
to explore.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Yes.
yeah, I think we can probably come out with a second part to this because there are so many other
Uh-huh.
things that I want to look on, like
Same.
yeah, like financial goals, what men want,
Mhm. Mhm.
versus what women want, mental health,
Mhm.
physical health,
Mhm.
communication, parenting, hobbies and interests, personal
Mhm.
growth. There are a wide cross section of things, and there are other questions that we can ask too. Is it society that dictates or influence what men want versus what women
Mm.
want? Can
Mm.
society do that? If society had no influence over what men want versus what women want, would the
Mhm.
wants of men and women be different?
Mm. That's a very interesting point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it might be worth having a second episode about the same topic, I mean. But we hope that you enjoy this conversation. You make a very strong case for us having offering a second episode about the same topic, because I do want to answer your questions, but also ask the rest of my questions. But
Mhm.
let's wrap it up for tonight.
Mhm.
Follow us on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss any episodes.
Mhm.
We'd also love to connect with you through Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok. And like, if you have any questions to ask us, please DM us, and we'll ask those questions on the air.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Until next time, this is Unpolished Dialogue signing out.